place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. All about Java, core Java technical interview tips and prep. Today, we are going to present you a list of sample beginner and intermediate level core Java programming technical interview questions for review and practice. Core Java technical interview process designed based on different experience level. For beginner levels, it includes 0 to 2 years of experience and it has basic theory and programming based questions. Intermediate level has their set of questions for 2 to 5 years of experience and their expectations for you to have an idea of advanced programming and reasoning types of questions. For expert, that will be more of your experience based questions since it is 5+ years of experience level. Core Java interview questions for beginner includes mostly theory and programming based questions. So all you have to listen questions properly and answer it precisely. For example, what are wrapper classes in Java? Wrapper classes convert the Java primitives into objects. Explain public static void main string arguments in Java. Public is an access modifier which is used to specify who can access this method. Static is a keyword in Java which identifies it is class-based. Void is the return type for the method that defines that this method will not return any value. Main method is searched by JVM as a starting point for an application with a particular signature only, because this is the method where the main execution occurs. String arguments is the parameter passed to the main method. Difference between abstract classes and interfaces. These type of questions are generally theoretical, but sometimes interviewer expect you to explain it with example in a programming concept. So be prepared and make sure you have a small example prepared beforehand. Theoretically, you can mention that abstract class provide complete default code or just the details that have to be overridden, whereas an interface cannot provide any code at all. It's just the signature. Abstract class may extend only one abstract class, whereas an interface may implement several interfaces. Abstract class can have non-abstract methods, whereas interface has all methods, often abstract. Abstract can have instance variable, whereas interfaces cannot have instance variable. And the most important difference, abstract can have any visibility, public, private, whereas interface must be public or none. Next is why Java is platform independent. A very simple and precise answer is Java is called platform independent because of its bytecodes, which can run on any system irrespective of its underlying operating system. Next, what is the difference between ArrayList and vector in Java? ArrayList is not synchronized, whereas vector is synchronized. Because of not synchronized, ArrayList is fast and vector is processing slow. If an element is inserted into an array list, it increases its size by 50%, whereas vector defaults to doubling the size of its array. Does not define the increment size and defines the increment size. What is the singleton class in Java and how can we make a class singleton? Singleton class is a class whose only one instance can be created at any given time in one JVM. A class can be made singleton by making its constructor private. What is the difference between heap and stack memory in Java? To understand this, you can use some diagrams. Stack used only by one thread of execution, whereas heap used by all the parts of application. Stack can't be accessed by other threads, whereas heap objects stored in the heap are globally accessible. Stack follows last in first out manner to free the memory, whereas heap memory management is based on the generation associated with each object. Exists until the end of execution of the thread, whereas in heap, memory lives from the start till the end of application execution. Stack memory only contains local primitive reference variable to object in heap space, whereas in heap, whenever an object is created, it's always stored in heap space. What is JIT compiler in Java? JIT stands for just-in-time compiler in Java, which helps in converting Java bytecode into instructions that are sent directly to the processor. By default, JIT is enabled in Java and is activated whenever a Java method is invoked. So in short, if you say JIT compiles a bytecode and invoke the method into native machine code. That's why it's called just-in-time. Difference between the constructor and methods in Java. Methods used to represent the behavior of an object, whereas constructor used to initialize the state of an object. Method must have return type, whereas in constructor do not have any return type. Methods need to be invoked explicitly, whereas constructor is invoked implicitly. Methods has no default method is provided by the compiler. In method, no default method is provided by the compiler, whereas in default constructor is provided by the compiler if the class has none. Method name may or may not be same class, whereas constructor name must always be same as class. What is final keyword in Java? Final is a special keyword in Java that is used as a non-access modifier. A final variable can be used in different contexts like a variable, method, or class. When it comes to a variable, that value can't be changed once assigned. If a method declared as final, it can't be overridden by the inheriting class. A class is declared as final, cannot be extended by any subclass. Next. What is the difference between this and super in Java? What is the difference between this and super in Java? This and super both are used to call constructor. In case of super, we used to call base class constructor, that means parent class, whereas this is used to call current class constructor. Used to access methods of the current class, whereas is used to access method of the base class. Used for pointing the current class instance, whereas used for pointing the superclass instance. It has to be mentioned static keyword before method, whereas on non-static method you don't need to add any keyword. Difference between an array and ArrayList. First and major difference between array and ArrayList in Java is that array is a fixed length data structure, whereas ArrayList is a variable length of the collection class. You can change length of array once created in Java, but in ArrayList, resize itself when it gets full depending upon capacity and load factor. Another difference between array and ArrayList in Java is that you cannot use generics along with array. Whereas an array instance knows what kind of type it can hold and throws array store exception. Another difference is you cannot store primitive in ArrayList. Now next question is, can you override a private or static method in Java? No, you cannot override a private or static method in Java. If you create a similar method with the same return type and same method arguments in child class, then it will hide the superclass method, and this is known as method hiding. Similarly, you cannot override a private method in subclass because it is not accessible there. Now next question is, what is object cloning in Java? Object cloning in Java is a process of creating an exact copy of an object. It basically means the ability to create an object with a similar state as the original object. To achieve this, we use clone method. Next question is, what is a marker interface? Marker interface can be defined as an interface having no data member and member functions. In simple words, an empty interface called marker interface. The basic example of it is serializable, unclonable, etc. What is the purpose of garbage collection in Java and when is it used? Purpose of garbage collection is to identify and discard objects that are no longer needed by a program so that their resources can be reclaimed and reused. It's just like in recycle. A Java object is subject to garbage collection when it becomes unreachable to program in which it is used. What are pass by reference and pass by value? This question is very important and be prepared with some examples. Pass by reference means the passing the address itself rather than passing the value, whereas pass by value means passing a copy of the value to be passed. What is an iterator? Some of the collection classes provide traversal of their content via iterator interface, which is in util package. So this interface allows you to walk through a collection of objects operating on each object in turn. What is serialization? Serialization is a mechanism by which you can save the state of an object by converting it into a byte stream. Now the next question goes, how do I serialize an object to a file? The class whose instances are to be serialized should implement an interface called serializable. Then you pass the instance to the object output stream, which is connected to file output stream, and this will save the object of a file. So next question is, what happens to the static fields of a class during serialization? There are three exceptions in which serialization does not necessarily read and write to the stream. Number one, serialization ignores static field. And number two, base class field are only handled if the base class itself is serializable. And number three is transient field. So these are the three places where the static field are going to be affected at the time of serialization. What is synchronization and why is it important? With respect to multi-threading, synchronization is the capability to control the access of multiple threads to share resources. Without synchronization, it is possible for one thread to modify a shared object while another thread is in the process of using or updating that object's value. The best example to understand about synchronization is sharing a file with read and write permission. So at the same time, many users are going to access that resource and that file which is in the shared network and trying to edit at their level. What are enumerations? So next question is, what are enumerations? So enumerations serve the purpose of representing a group of named constants in a programming language. Enums are used when we know all possible values at compile time, such as choices of a menu, rounding modes, command line flags, etc. It's not necessary that the set of constants in an enum type stay fixed for all time. The best example to understand about enumeration is 7 days of the week. It is implemented mostly at the time when we implement calendar or any event we need to add in the calendar. So that time it is the best use to use enumeration. So next question is, what will happen if we change public to private access modifier in main method? The answer goes very precisely like this will compile successfully but will throw a runtime error. The reason, since the access specifier was changed from public to private, JVM, Java Virtual Machine, was unable to access and locate the main method. So next question is, what purpose do the keywords final, finally and finalize fulfill? Final is used to apply restrictions on class, methods and variable. Finally is used to place important code. It will be executed whether the exception is handled or not. And finalize is used to perform cleanup processing just before the object is garbage collected. What is the difference between throw and throws? That comes in the exception, where the throw used to explicitly throw an exception, whereas throws used to declare an exception. Throw, check the exception. Checked exceptions cannot be propagated with throw only. whereas checked exception can be propagated with throws. Throw is followed by an instance, whereas throws is followed by class. Throw is used within the method, whereas throws is used with the method in the signature, like SQL exception, IO exception, and many more. So you can mention it in the class definition. Now next question is, what is out of memory error in Java? Out of memory error is a subclass of Java lang error class, which is generally occurs when our Java virtual machine runs out of memory. Next question is, what are the two ways to create a thread? So we have learned in the multi-threading that in Java, threads can be created in two ways: by implementing runnable interface and by extending the thread class. Next question is, what are the different types of garbage collectors in Java? So all you need to just mention the name of the garbage collectors. So there are four types of garbage collector: serial garbage collector, parallel garbage collector, CMS type of garbage collector, and G garbage. What is reference variable? This question is very interesting and interviewer are expecting you to explain it with some examples and diagrams. But when it comes to the theoretically, all you need to be very precise, 1 or 2 lines. Like, what is reference variable? Reference variable simple means a variable allocated memory statically in the stack at compile time. So what will happen when an object in Java refers to an instance of a class that has some state and behavior, that is contains some functionality to perform operation by accessing public and protected member of class. So next question is difference between transient and volatile. Transient is used in serialization, whereas volatile is used in multi-threading. If you want to exclude a variable from serialization process, then mark them variable as a transient. The next question is, what is the difference between file input and file reader in Java? File input stream used to read raw stream of bytes from file or socket in Java, whereas file reader or buffer reader used to read stream of characters or text data from file, as always specified character encoding. Now, can we have written statement in finally clause? What will happen if you have? Yes, you can use written statement in finally block, but it will not prevent finally block from being executed. If you use return statement in try block, then return value from finally block will override whatever is written from try block. Next, we have some set of questions for intermediate level. That particular set of questions are more advanced and expecting more in programming based. So be prepared to answer it in a programming level. For example, write a program to solve producer-consumer problem in Java. How to find middle element of linked list in one pass. So these all are based on the implementation. So you can go through it, how we implement, and see and be prepared. What is the difference between iterator and enumeration that we have seen? Difference between static and dynamic binding. Write a Java program to avoid deadlock and implement palindrome, Fibonacci, factorial, reverse string, GCD, square root, search sort, leap year, pre-post order traversal. Out of all this, the most important algorithm they will ask you to implement is search or sort. So this is what the set of questions for interview. Now for preparation, what all you need to start the process with the resume, the practice. You need to have the more information about your future employer and listen carefully every question and answer it very precisely. Be prepared with some examples and some diagrams. That presentation will give a very good impression to the interviewer, and their expectations and their assessment will be very easy. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting videos. For more assistance and questions and concern and document, please email to techranch2019@gmail.com. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.